Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall Psychic. I hope all the mums around the world had a very, very special day on Sunday for Mother's Day. It was Mother's Day around the world in many countries. And it's a really important time where we should reflect and give thanks to the mum that brought us into the world and the person that nurtured us and made us the person that we are today. So it's really, really interesting as there's lots of changes going on around the world at the moment and there's lots of emotion. And, you know, I know here in Australia there's been a big focus on the war in Ukraine again about, you know, is it time that Ukraine sort of surrenders and says to Russia that that's it, you know, I give up. I mean, I don't know that that's necessarily the right answer. I mean, they've fought so hard to retain their country. But it just strikes so much fear, I think, in a lot of people that there is no resolution, that, you know, the president of Russia is still trying to be a bully and trying to dominate the sandpit when hasn't he got enough land of his own and enough people to look after that he doesn't need to invade surrounding countries. So that's just my little bit of soapbox for this morning. Okay, so the Simply Tarot card of the week is the Nine of Swords. Now, it's the card of tears and frustration. Now, a lot of people sort of say to me, oh, but Amanda, I don't necessarily allow tears to enter my life. And, you know, tears aren't necessarily a bad thing. They can be a very cleansing thing. But we all experience some sort of frustration at some stage in our lives, or anger or annoyance, or just quite frankly, we just don't know what to do with ourselves, and we get this overwhelming energy that sort of seems to block everything in our lives. So tears and frustrations are a very natural part of life, but so is letting go of the emotions or finding ways to let go of the emotion and channel it into something more positive. I'm no different to anybody else. Yes, I can get angry and I can get frustrated and throw a tantrum like the next person, but most of the time I try and look at what is it that's causing me the frustration in my life, what's causing me to feel this way, and can I find a solution? Can I find a way of letting go of this emotion or channeling this intense emotion into something positive, instead of it allowing it to be negative and to dominate and control things and to upset everybody around me. I try and find a positive way to use this emotion, because quite often it's very intense. It's something that, you know, if we channel it, we can move mountains, as people say. So sometimes having a little bit of tears and frustration in our lives is very healthy, because it means that we're acknowledging and we're aware of our circumstances and our environment and the things that trigger us. And I think as we get older, we learn to be a little bit calmer, or hopefully we do, but the things that used to cause us tears and frustration in our late teenage years and our early 20s, now we just sort of shrug our shoulders and say, is that all? But it's all part of the journey of the human race, of learning to understand and work with our emotions, whether they're good, bad, or indifferent. So tears and frustrations, even though it seems like a negative start to the week from my point of view, it can be a positive start, because it means that we're finally finding a solution. We're finding a way to release that pent-up frustration and those tears, instead of turning them inwardly and causing our bodies to sort of absorb that negative energy. We're finding a positive channel to release it in, and that's a good thing. Okay, so we're going to move on to the astrology section. It's really Taurus week this week, because we've got Jupiter, the planet of expansion and opportunity, has just started its 12-month trek through Taurus. So what does this mean for Tauruses? What it means for Tauruses is it's time to make hay while the sun shines. You've got opportunities that are going to knock on your door. You've got opportunities that are going to be abounding, but also you need to put some effort in. It's a time, if you're trying to get something new off the ground, a new business venture, a new relationship, moving into different circles, maybe a house move, anything that's going to bring expansion and opportunity into your life, now is the time to sort of start making that happen. It can also mean expanding waistlines. So we need to be a little bit careful there if you're a Taurus, because Tauruses are known to have a very sweet tooth and to like rich and comforting food. Now, this could also work in that way that Jupiter says, oh, you can just have another piece of cake. Go on, you know you want it. And, you know, that's all well and fine. You can have that extra piece of cake, but what exercise are you going to do to work off that piece of cake or that extra helping of yummy dessert? So with Jupiter here, you have opportunities to increase your bank balance, to make life a lot stronger for yourself. But and lots of times, Jupiter is also asking us to expand our own personalities, asking us to look at the good things in life and maybe work on those and expand those and bring those more to fruition. That we may have been working quietly in the background on some new project and haven't sort of found the right time to approach that backer or that buyer, or the time to see the bank. Now may very well be the right time over the coming 12 months. It's a time when wonderful things can happen. It doesn't mean because Jupiter's sitting in Taurus, every single Taurus on the planet's going to win the lottery or win the lotto. It just means that there's opportunities are abound. You've got to make them happen. You've got to put some effort in, and now's your turn to shine in the sun. So why not take the opportunities as they start to unfold and turn them into financial prospects that, maybe you've only dreamed of before. Maybe it's your turn now to really get your finances really in control, because there is new and wonderful opportunities around you. Jupiter is conjunct or holding hands what's known as the North Node. Now, the North Node is trying to show us the way forward. It's like a guiding light. It's saying, over here is where you need to be looking. This is what you need to be aspiring to. This is how we need to be sort of conducting ourselves at the moment, and sort of looking for new opportunities or things to aspire to. The North Node is also conjunct Mercury, the planet of communication. So it's really interesting because we've got Jupiter conjunct or holding hands the North Node, showing Jupiter the planet of expansion and opportunity. The North Node showing us the way forward, giving us the guiding light to the directions that we need to take, followed up by Mercury, the planet of communication and ideas. So we've got a real plethora of three planets all holding hands or conjunct together at the moment, showing us that there is some golden opportunities and opportunities that shouldn't be wasted. Now, this is really, really important at the moment for Tauruses. There may be something that could fall in your lap, or something that you've been thinking about, or something you haven't sort of felt was ripe enough yet to bring forward and talk about with somebody. Well, now may very well be the perfect time. Yes, when I'm talking about this energy in Taurus, it also flows over, but nowhere near as intense, to Virgos and Capricorns, and then finally Scorpios. So there's a little bit of a washout there. There's not as much for the Scorpios as there is for the Tauruses, obviously, and Virgo and Capricorn are still in the mix of some wonderful new opportunities unfolding in these next 12 months. But you need to be on the lookout for what these opportunities are, and don't waste time. Act on them fairly quickly. Don't think, oh, I've got plenty of time to sit down and look at this. No, you don't. If something presents itself, you've got to act rather quickly. That's the message there. We also have Uranus, the planet of the unusual and the unexpected, is conjunct or holding hands the sun in Taurus. So Uranus is bringing unexpected opportunities towards you very, very quickly. They can be like a bolt of lightning. So it's really interesting that everything that's sitting in Taurus at the moment has got this real emphasis on speed, not the time to be slow, not the time to sit there and ponder. If it feels right, if it looks right, then explore it more, and then make some logical, practical decisions then. It's not the time to sit down and think about it and have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee and think about it for 6 or 7 weeks. The opportunities will be gone. You need to act very, very quickly. Now, it's interesting because Taurus is in the last few days of the cycle of the Taurus energy for this year, and then we'll be moving into Gemini. So it's like everything sort of feels urgent, and particularly with Uranus here, if anything presents itself in the next 7 days, it's like it really does need urgent attention. It's not something that you can let go of or leave behind. So you really do need to be looking at making hay while the sun shines, taking advantage of these amazing opportunities that are coming your way, because they're not going to sit back and wait for you to catch up. You have to be ready to act, and act efficiently and with great confidence at the time. Even if you haven't got the whole plan formulated, show that you're working towards that, you've given this careful consideration, thought, and you're ready to act, and it's a work in progress. Not everything needs to be there for the bank manager to see when you're looking to get a loan. to start a new business venture. Yes, he'd like a business plan, but he also knows business plans are a work in progress, that they need to be updated and move along as things progress. So it's time to sort of just look at things and show them what stage you're up to, that you really are keen and you really are serious, and this is the work you've done to date. Okay, so we've got Venus, the planet of love and affection, is sitting in Cancer at the moment. So that's a really nice placement for Venus. Venus feels very comfortable in Cancer because Cancer is very nurturing and loving and kind and beautiful, and just makes you feel very secure and very homely. So what that means for anybody that might be seeking a new relationship, maybe it's time to sort of step out and go to places that make you feel comfortable. Don't go sort of, I know a lot of people say, oh, you've got to step out of your comfort zone if you want to attract new love, if you want to attract someone new in your life. You can't just keep doing the things that you always do. Yes, that's true to a certain point. But sometimes we need to work with the energies of the zodiac too. And at the moment with Venus in Cancer, it's telling us to go to places that are familiar, places that make us feel warm and snuggly, places that make it feel like it's home. Not necessarily is it the time to venture into new areas that we feel uncomfortable, and therefore we're not giving off our best energy because we feel uncomfortable, or we feel a little bit prickly there, or we feel a little bit self-conscious. Where if we go to somewhere that we feel comfortable, we feel secure in our surroundings, then we're giving off this wonderful, comforting, loving sort of vibe. And that may be just the type of energy that we need to be exuding at the moment if we want to attract new love. Neptune, the planet of illusion and delusion, is still in its home in Pisces, and it's bringing some very creative solutions to ways for people to find solutions to things that have been troubling them. And it's interesting to see the way governments around the world are handling things in a different manner now. It's, they're trying to find different choices in words, different policies to bring about, even though it may be the same tired old policy, it's got a fresh, new, sparkly face. It's got a new set of words. It's got a new slogan. It's got a new way of presenting itself that sort of all of a sudden people are sitting up and taking notice and saying, wow, that's different. Didn't know that before. It's the same old tired policy. It's just had a facelift. But if that's what's going to get the message across and get people to sort of start listening and taking notice of things like global warming and things like that, that sort of we've all become a little bit tired of, it's like, yeah, that was yesterday's news. Didn't we deal with that a few years ago? Why are they talking about it again now? Well, there needs to be a fresh approach to that sort of thing, particularly now that we've come out of the pandemic. The world is a very different place now, and people are far more cautious, and there's been so many changes and so many interruptions to supply chains and things like that around the world. It's now time, I think, to give things like global warming another look at, and sort of say, well, okay, moving forward, what have we learned? What can we do differently? What can we start to bring in? And, as the world starts to gear up to looking at alternatives to fossil fuels, we've got to find alternative solutions, whether it be solar or wind or hydrogen or whatever. And there's many, many countries and nations around the world that are really ramping that up and really sort of taking this seriously. And then there's others that have dropped the ball and sort of say, oh, yeah, well, we'll get around to it one day. And then there's some countries that really just don't believe in it at all. I mean, I suppose somewhere in the mix of all that is the truth, but you've only got to turn on the TV and see the weather events that are happening around the world that weren't happening 50 years ago or even 20 years ago. Something has changed. So whether you believe in global warming or not, you've got to sit up and take notice. The world is changing, so is the weather, and we need to do something about it. Pluto is still in Aquarius. He'll still be dipping his toe in there for a little bit of time to come, yet another month or so, and then he'll slip back into Capricorn. He's going to sort of do that dance of sticking his toe in Aquarius and then slipping back into Capricorn. That'll happen 2 or 3 times before he actually makes his way into Aquarius solidly, which won't happen until the end of 2024. So we've still got a little bit of time where we've got this changeable sort of energy. And what this is doing is just showing Aquarians a taste of what is to come. that with Pluto in there transforming their lives, asking them to think differently, think outside the square. You can't always do things the way that you did. You've got to find new and innovative solutions, and that will become worldwide. It won't just be for Aquarians. But at the same time, he's still sort of showing us he's not completely finished with Capricorn yet. He's not completely finished with big business and governments and people sort of trying to ignore messages like global warming and things like that. So there's sort of, it's like this honeymoon period for both. It's like the tail end of the Capricorn energy and, the brand new sparkle of the Aquarian energy, but there's no definite right or wrong at the moment. It's like vacillating between the two. So I think we're going to be in for an interesting, 15, 16 months as we see shifts and changes in energy and people's opinions, and then all of a sudden they do a backflip and go backwards again because the energy of Pluto has shifted. So it's really interesting to see how the world's going to handle the changes that are coming up. Let's hope it means that we might see the end of the war in Ukraine very suddenly, which would be lovely, and some resolution and some peace so people can start rebuilding their lives there. We're going to talk with Ashley in Providence in Rhode Island. Are you there, Ashley?
Good, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, sweetie. Do you have a question I can answer for you tonight?
Yeah, kind of going through like a rough patch with my husband, and I was just seeing if you could say anything about what direction I should take, if I'm doing the right thing.
Okay. Actually, it's always a very difficult situation, isn't it, when, a marriage sort of doesn't work out to be what we hoped and we dreamed the day that we took our vows, and that makes us question ourselves and question what went wrong or what went right or who changed or what changed. And I just sort of feel at the moment your husband seems to be very confused. So is he not reaching out and sort of communicating with you in any way to try and get some sort of clarity out of the situation?
No, he hasn't.
No, because every time I try and tap into his energy, into his soul, it's like he's sort of, how can I describe this? It's like he's there, but he's not there. It's like, yes, it's registering that, somebody's trying to make connection with him, but at the same time, it's like, oh, I haven't got the energy, or I can't be bothered, or I don't know what to say, or I don't know what to do. And I don't think it's a deliberate thing that he's trying to avoid you. I think he truly doesn't know how to handle the situation or what to say, not so much what you want to hear, but how would I start this? What would I say? What would she expect? What would Ashley want from me? I don't know. I don't know myself what I want from myself. So he's in not a very comfortable spot. And it's interesting because I go into his soul and I can see a man there that doesn't know what to do about the marriage. Yet on the other hand, if I put him in a work environment, we've got this very confident, competent man who can sort of give orders and do things and everything sort of functions. And you think, is that the same person? It's like two different people that we're dealing with. And that, I think, is the struggle here, Ashley, is that it's almost like nobody's given him the book to read on how to handle what he's going through personally and with you and the marriage. It's not that I don't think he wants the marriage. I don't think he understands, and this might sound a strange thing to say, but I don't think he understands the concept of marriage. Would you say that that would be a fair comment?
Yeah, everything you just said is completely right. And I have brought that up too, about him being a different person when he's at work, the confidence, the motivation, and everything.
Yeah, completely. It was like I was looking at two different people. And it was
exactly.
And I don't know what solutions I can give you other than to sort of suggest to you to be patient. I don't think this marriage is over, but by the same token, I'm not going to ask you to sit there and wait for 10 years for him to sort himself out either. I keep being shown June. Now, I don't know what's going to happen in June, but something's going to happen in June that's going to shake him at his core, that's going to make him realise that, hang on a minute, I've got to do something about this, or otherwise the marriage is going to go. That's it. It won't be able to be salvaged. When I ask him, does he love you, he tells me, of course he does. So I suppose that's a good start. But I just think he's got I don't know what it is that's going to happen, Ashley, but whatever it is, it will shake him up and it will make him start talking to you. And hopefully then we can start to reignite this marriage again in some sort of way, but it can't go back to the way it was. It's got to be reignited and sort of almost start at the beginning again, if that makes sense to you. It's like we've got to learn to be husband and wife again. And he's got to learn to be able to communicate and share with you what's going on in that head of his. Not to come home and be a different person. That's not fair. So are the two of you still living in the same house, or are you living apart?
Kind of on and off.
Right.
I think the past week I've been back home. We have 2 kids together.
Yeah, look, I think somewhere between whatever happens in June, between then and September will be the crucial bit. And by September, you'll know exactly which way you're going. So it's sort of like just have an open mind at the moment, continue doing what you're doing, but make sure you protect yourself too, Ashley. You can't afford to fall down the rabbit hole with him. You know, you've got to keep functioning and keep going too. But I have a really good feeling, Ashley, that this is going to turn around and we can get this marriage back on track in a completely different, new, stronger direction. You know, a stronger marriage. So I wish you well, sweetie, and I'll keep you in my prayers. We're going to talk with Melissa now in Batesville in Arkansas. I know I've pronounced that wrong, but anyway, Melissa, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Do you have a question I can answer for you, sweetie?
Pardon?
Do you have a question I can answer for you?
Well, yeah, I was just kind of wondering about my son. If there's anything you could tell me with his situation.
Can you repeat the question, please? I didn't quite catch that.
I was just wondering if you might could tell me a little bit about my son's situation, or maybe if anyone, beyond may have a message or.
Okay. So your son's still with us, I take it?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Okay, just clarifying that, because at times there I feel as if your son sort of wanders off into another dimension. It's sort of like he's a law unto himself at times. He sort of doesn't really consider other people or conform in ways that sometimes people would expect him to do. Nothing wrong with that. I think he's an amazing young man who just dances to the beat of his own drum, and there's nothing wrong with that. So has there been some very intense emotional situations that he's had to navigate through in the last 6 months or so?
Yes.
That seems to be coming to an end now. And I'm not going to say abruptly that, like we turn the page and that's it, but it's sort of tapering down now. And he seems to be coming out the other side, I'm going to say a little bit battered and bruised, but at the same time a lot stronger and a lot wiser. So it's like from about August this year, I think things are really going to start to ramp up in his life in a very, very positive way. I can see some emotional stuff that he's still got to work through. But I'm also seeing the opportunities here for maybe a new job or a promotion within the job that he's doing. And that sort of gives him a little bit of renewed confidence in himself that, wow, I am at least succeeding in some areas. I'm going to say I think he's succeeding in a lot of areas. But if this is what gives him the confidence to feel that I'm finally on the right track, well, then that's a good thing. It's interesting because I look at this young man of yours and I want to say to you, you've done a really amazing job with him, Melissa. You've not only raised a young man who's very kind and considerate and well-mannered, but he's a man that is comfortable in his own skin. That, even though people around him might say this is wrong or you shouldn't do that or you shouldn't do that, he's very polite about it, but he still dances to the beat of his own drum. And that's really very special. So, even though he might have been through some tough times, just know that he'll always be the type of young man that will always find his way through no matter what. No matter how bleak something looks, he always finds the way through. He's just got a really nice magical energy about him.
Yes, so he's going to be okay then.
He's going to be okay. You can stop worrying, Mum. And, I think maybe, I don't know that you'll ever know the full story, but I do think you're going to get bits and pieces of it in chunks when he's ready to release it. And it's sort of like you're going to be sitting there thinking, wow, I knew it was bad, but I didn't know it was quite that bad. And he's sort of saying to you, Mum, but it's okay. I came out the other side, I learned from it.
Okay, great.
And And I think that's probably the most important thing, that he shares with you very openly, more so than a lot of other young men do with their mums. You know, he feels he can communicate anything to you and you don't sit in judgment. And that's a very unique sort of relationship to have, Melissa. The other thing I want to share with you, Melissa, from the other side, they're showing me this oversized, beautiful, big pink heart. So there's lots and lots and lots of love coming towards you.
Right.
So you must have a few
That
people on
sounds
the other
wonderful.
side that wanted to send that beautiful big pink heart to you to just let you know that you're very, very loved.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, I have several on the other side, so that sounds wonderful.
Yeah, there was quite a crowd that was coming forward, and it was like an oversized heart-shaped balloon that they were bringing towards me to give to you, Melissa, to sort of say this is for you. So, you know, it's always nice to know that, you know, people on the other side are taking an interest in us and, you know, can send, you know, some sort of emotion and sort of just brighten our day a little bit. But your son is one in a million. He is just an amazing young man and you should be incredibly proud of him.
I am, and I thank you very much. It makes me feel so much better.
Yeah, so, you know, stop worrying. I know that's easier said than done. All mums worry. That's our job. But, you know, he is just a very unique, special young man and you should be very proud to be his mum. Anyway, that's where we're going to leave Melissa. We've come to the end of the show again. The show goes very quick every week, I know. And each week I try and bring to light a song that might have been going around in my head or something that comes to me just moments before the show. Like today, I didn't know what song I was going to share with you, and I was starting to work on the astrology report, and I got this little jingle in my head, and I thought, crikey, I haven't heard that song in a long, long time, and it's called Up, Up and Away by The Fifth Dimension, and it's just one of those lovely little tunes that makes you sing through the day, and maybe that's what we need to do is sort of, you know, send our cares and our worries, our tears and frustrations up and away with the fifth dimension, and we can have a much better week. I think that's probably a very good message to sort of end the show on. But until next week, I hope you keep smiling and try and be kind to each other. You know, kindness and a smile goes a long, long way, and it might just be the only bit of positive energy that somebody's had in their day by you just sort of saying good morning or good afternoon and how's your day and giving them a smile. Smiles make the world go round. Until next week, bye for now.